Welcome back to the Daily Rollup, or welcome to the Daily Rollup. If this is your first time in, welcome in, take a seat. Every Monday through Friday, we put together 5 to 7 short stories of things happening around the world so that we can all have better situational awareness on the world around us. So let's find out what's happening today. So a mass shooting took place on the morning of September 8th of 2025 at Ramat Junction in East Jerusalem that resulted in the deaths of 5 people and injuries to at least 12 others. Now, according to the Israeli authorities, they described it as a terror attack carried out by 2 Palestinian gunmen from the West Bank who were armed with submachine guns, and they opened fire on passengers inside or near a bus at a busy bus stop during the morning rush hour. Apparently, the attackers were quickly neutralized at the scene by a security officer or soldier or armed civilian. Now, after the attack, Hamas praised the attackers as, quote, resistance fighters, but stopped short of claiming responsibility. This is the deadliest shooting attack in Israel in nearly a year, with the last similar mass incident occurring in October of 2024. Now, the Israeli forces responded to this incident by deploying extra troops, closing checkpoints between East Jerusalem and the West Bank, imposing a military cordon on the nearby Palestinian villages of Katana, Bidu, Beit Inan, and Beit Duku, and then they conducted raids in search of potential accomplices. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the site, postponing his corruption trial due to the security situation. He held a situation assessment with security chiefs. The Israeli military also reinforced its presence in the wider Jerusalem area. There's footage that's been circulating around social media and news outlets that captures the initial chaotic moments of the attack when everybody was kind of clustered around the buses and then everyone started running away as the gunman approaching the bus opened fire, shattering the windshield as passengers and bystanders scattered in panic. 100 seen fleeing the scene amid gunfire. There's additional videos that have been circulating showing the first responders that arrived at the scene, first evacuating wounded, providing medical treatment at the scene, with ambulances rushing victims to hospitals like Hadassah in Kerem and Hadassah Mount Scopus. The area is shown littered with broken glass, and security forces were seen securing the site after the attack was completed. Now, unfortunately, this is only going to increase tensions between the Palestinians and the Israelis, which is already, maxed out as a result of everything going on between Israel and Gaza. I mean, tensions have not been able to get reduced there since prior to October 7th of 2023 that I've seen. Now, as this incident took place, there was this is just unfolding amid heightened tensions between Israelis and Palestinians, especially because apparently 21 Palestinians were reported to have died the same day in Gaza during the military operations there. So far, the death toll, this event is 6, but it's expected to climb for some of them because a lot of people were shot. Looks like some mass protests broke out over by Muniz Air National Guard Base in Carolina, Puerto Rico on September 7th of 2025, with apparently hundreds of protesters and demonstrators showing up for it. Now, they were protesting against the increased U.S. military presence out there on the island and the potential reactivation of former military bases. It was organized by groups like Madres Contra la Guerra, which is Mothers Against War. The rally featured participants waving Puerto Rican flags, Venezuelan flags, chanting slogans like, quote, no to military bases in Puerto Rico, and also no war in our continent, and basically expressing general opposition to what they're describing as U.S. militarization amid escalating tensions with Venezuela. The protests apparently began around 4 p.m. local time near a Burger King adjacent to the base entrance, and it remained peaceful. Nobody got violent or started throwing anything. There was no reported arrests or confrontations from the event. Now, this demonstration was specifically tied to the ongoing U.S. military activities at the base, which serves for the key hub for Puerto Rico's Air National Guard's 156th Wing. The Muniz base is currently supporting exercises by the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group, which consists of ships like the USS Iwo Jima and the USS San Antonio, along with others, and also the U.S. Marine Corps 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit out there. Now, these operations are part of the broader U.S. deployment to the Southern Caribbean in order to combat narco-terrorist networks allegedly linked to Venezuela's Maduro regime, which the current administration has labeled as a narco-terrorist cartel leader and even put out a $50 million bounty for. Now, part of these actions are deploying F-35 fighter jets to the base in preparations for actions against the drug cartels, the amphibious landing exercises that are taking place out there, and a reported U.S. strike on a suspected Venezuelan drug vessel that ended up resulting in 11 fatalities that were described as, quote, terrorists. Now, this buildup, which involves over 4,500 additional troops and naval assets in the area, follows U.S. designations of Venezuelan-linked groups like the Cartel de los Soles and Tren de Aragua as terrorist organizations. Now, the protesters out by the base were arguing that this could risk escalating regional conflict and harm Puerto Rico's environment and communities, echoing some historical grievances over past U.S. military uses of sites like Vieques and things like that. So back on March 19th of 2025, Ekrem İmamoğlu, who's the former mayor of Istanbul, was arrested on charges of corruption and bribery. Now, this is the main opposition to Erdogan, and the guy was part of the Republican People's Party of Turkey. Now, a lot of these charges have been widely described as fabricated and politically motivated, aimed at sidelining İmamoğlu so that way he couldn't potentially run against Erdogan in future elections. Now, there were mass protests as a result of this imprisoning of him. And then in early September of 2025, an Istanbul court suspended the CHP's provincial leadership in the city, citing alleged irregularities in the party's internal Congress and elections, which effectively removed the elected administration completely, including the chair. And this halted the party's ordinary Congress processes, paving the way for an interim council or a trustee to take control of the organization, meaning a government entity that's part of the controlling party of Turkey coming in and taking over control of the opposition party. Now, this move is directly linked to the ongoing case with İmamoğlu, who still remains in prison today and is seen by opponents as Erdogan's attempt to consolidate control over the CHP, which is Turkey's largest opposition party and the biggest threat to Erdogan's control of the country. So as a result of this, mass protests erupted on September 7th of 2025, with thousands of residents taking to the streets to oppose suspension and the potential transfer of party's leadership to a government-appointed interim body. Demonstrators gathered all over the place, including the CHP Istanbul headquarters, chanting against Erdogan and calling for the defense of democracy, describing this whole thing as, quote, a coup against democracy and an unlawful trustee appointment. Now, police responded by blockading roads leading to the headquarters and deploying hundreds of riot officers all over the place, as well as imposing a 24-hour ban on demonstration in 6 districts. Even members of parliament were reportedly banned from entering the building. By the evening of September 7th, there were reports emerging of internet throttling and social media censorship across Turkey involving the situation that was ongoing there, so that nobody would find out and nobody would talk about it. Now, so far, protesters and CHP supporters have framed the event as an attempt for Erdogan to conquer the opposition through the judiciary, while government-aligned views portray the court's decision as necessary responses to internal party irregularities, although no detailed evidence has been publicly released yet. So the Ukrainian Air Force's heavy airlifter fleet, which is primarily operated by the 25th Transport Aviation Brigade, has seen a pretty big reported increase in activity over the past year, with additional aircraft returning to operational service within Ukraine. Now, this is kind of highlighting Ukraine's efforts to bolster its heavy lift capabilities amid the ongoing conflict, despite the fact that there's a lot of stuff floating around in the air like Shahed drones and other anti-air assets that could be potentially used to degrade their airlifting fleet. Now, over the last year, there's been kind of a quiet resurgence of the heavy airlifting fleet operations. More aircraft from the 25th Brigade have returned to Ukraine, likely from safe havens abroad like Poland or other NATO countries where they were sheltered early in the 2022 invasion or after undergoing repairs. This has enabled increased service, potentially for resupplying front lines, transporting Western aid, or conducting strategic airlifts. A recent video that was shared by multiple open source intelligence reporting pages showed one of the 25th Brigade's heavy lift planes landing at an undisclosed Ukrainian airfield during what appears to be a dusk or dawn time frame, with an aircraft approaching from a distance against a partly cloudy sky, engines visible and possibly reflecting sunlight before touching down smoothly. Now, there's going to continue to be challenges with maintaining an operational logistics heavy lift air fixed wing fleet including threats from Russian air defenses and the need for secure airfields large enough for these massive planes to land. Okay, so I can't show you the footage of what I'm about to tell you because it's a little graphic and would get taken down, but I want to tell you this story because I thought it was pretty interesting. So there was footage that was apparently posted on September 7th of 2025 showing the graphic aftermath of what looked like a makeshift shelter or bunker that depicted some guys on the floor where apparently a couple of Russians on the front line got drunk and shot each other. One of the soldiers is clearly deceased because there's no sign of life from this guy. And the other soldiers that are standing up in the area are confirming what happened, saying they got drunk and shot each other. There's audible frustration remarks between everybody saying, yeah, he's wasted. You know, what an idiot, basically. And this isn't an isolated case. First off, this footage that I'm talking about was like leaked footage that came out from either intercepted communications from the Ukrainian intelligence channels or, you know, maybe they got leaked out onto Telegram channels. But like I said, this is not the first time this happened. Back in August of 2024, there were some convicts from Storm Z unit that reportedly got drunk and fired on their own group, resulting in one death and several injuries, with survivors beaten and restrained. Another one in April of 2024 showed a clip of drunken soldiers shooting a comrade, possibly over like ethnic tensions. And then again, back in July of 2023, a brawl among some of the mobilized soldiers in Moscow turned deadly due to alcohol, which resulted in the death of one and injuries to many others. So this is a not super common thing, but common enough where it's like constantly coming back up again. If they had video cameras back in World War II when the Gestapo was out raiding people, it would probably look something like this. On September 8th of 2025, Russia's Federal Security Service, or the FSB, announced the detention of an Azerbaijani citizen of the Stavropol region, accusing him of preparing a series of sabotage and terrorist attacks. The man, reportedly a former Azerbaijani Special Forces soldier, was allegedly recruited by Ukrainian intelligence and had just joined a banned Ukrainian terrorist organization. This is according to the FSB, of course. Now, in addition to that, according to the FSB, he conducted reconnaissance on potential targets, including law enforcement facilities, and assembled a homemade explosive device under instructions from Ukrainian handlers. The footage that was released by the FSB shows the arrest, with the detainee confessing to the plot in a statement that some sources suggest may have been given under duress, as is common in such Russian cases. Now, this incident occurs amid the escalating tensions between Russia and Azerbaijan, including recent arrests of Azerbaijani diaspora leaders in Russian cities like Ekaterinburg and Moscow on charges ranging from organized crime to spying. And this is just another, common thing that you see in the region. Now, Russian authorities have claimed that the plot was thwarted, but independent verification is limited, and Azerbaijani officials have not publicly commented on the specifics of the situation as of yet. All right, that's it for the daily roll-up for today, guys. I appreciate all of you that have stuck around till this part of the video, because obviously the longer you stay in the video and watch it for, the more it helps support the channel and helps boost it in the algorithm. So another thing you can do to help support the channel is please like it, please subscribe, please share it with your friends. And please leave a comment below. That helps support the channel, helps enable me to continue to do this stuff, and helps me pay for editors if I'm being 100% honest. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please let us know what you thought about this video in the comments below, and we will see you in the next video.